There's a strange kind of stillness in the world right now, like the calm before a storm you can't quite see, but you feel it. The markets are shaky, global tensions are rising, headlines whisper about looming food shortages, while supply chains grow more fragile with every passing month. Droughts hit where crops once thrived. Storms delay what used to be routine shipments. And all around us, the quiet cost of everyday essentials keeps climbing higher. Not with a bang, but with a slow, relentless creep. And for those paying attention, the message is clear. Something is shifting. It's no longer just about what's happening far away. It's here. It's on our shelves. It's in our pantries. It's in that uneasy feeling you get when your regular grocery list costs more than it used to, and yet somehow still feels incomplete. That's why in this video we're diving into 5 essential foods you need to stock up on now, before May arrives and before these soft warnings turn into hard realities. These aren't trendy health foods or boutique ingredients. These are reliable, affordable, long-lasting staples. Foods that quietly carry you through when everything else feels uncertain. If you find this video helpful so far, don't forget to give it a like. It helps more people discover practical steps they can take today. And if you know someone who'd benefit from this kind of quiet preparation, someone older, someone living alone, someone who just needs a little guidance, please share it with them. Because the calm you build now might one day become someone else's lifeline. But this isn't about panic. It's about preparation. It's about reclaiming a sense of control in a world that's changing faster than any of us would like. If you've lived long enough, and most of us here have, you know that the world doesn't always give advance notice. One day life is calm. The next something shifts. And suddenly, what was once routine becomes uncertain. That's why these 5 foods matter. Because when things change, and they will, it won't be luxury items or trendy snacks we'll be reaching for. It'll be the quiet staples, the familiar comforts, the meals that remind us of home. Let's begin where resilience has always lived, in beans and lentils. These unassuming pantry heroes have fed families through wars, recessions, and natural disasters. Why? Because they're affordable. They last, they're nutritious, and they don't ask much. Just a bit of water, a little heat, and they give back warmth, fullness, and energy. They don't spoil quickly. They don't demand refrigeration. And perhaps most importantly, they offer peace of mind. Knowing that a few pounds of dried beans are sitting safely in a sealed container gives a quiet reassurance that's hard to describe. It's like having a safety net you can eat. But there's more to this than just food. When shipping routes stall or fuel prices spike, when climate shifts affect crop yields in places like India, Canada, or the American Midwest, beans and lentils are among the first items to quietly rise in price. You may not notice it week to week, but over a season the difference adds up. And when people start to notice, they scramble. Shelves clear, and those who waited too long pay double or go without. You don't need to wait. You can act now. And the good news is, storing beans and lentils is simple. You don't need a bunker or a commercial setup, just a few food-grade containers, some cool dark space, and a small rotation system. Use what you buy, replace what you use, and over time, your pantry becomes more than just shelves. It becomes a cushion, a source of calm. And if you've ever simmered a pot of lentils with just a pinch of salt and herbs, you know there's magic in the simplicity. Lentils cook fast. They don't need soaking. They conserve water and fuel. In any emergency, that matters more than people realize. And even if no crisis ever comes, and let's hope it doesn't, you've lost nothing. You've gained healthy, filling meals. You've gained knowledge of how to stretch a dollar. You've gained independence. Now picture pairing that pot of lentils with rice. Nothing fancy, just white rice, long grain, sealed properly and quietly waiting in your cupboard. Rice is neutral, forgiving, and pairs with nearly anything. It's also one of the most reliable long-term foods when stored correctly. In the prepper world, it's known as a backbone staple. But in homes like ours, it's more than that. It's the meal that brings people together, that says we're okay, even when the world outside doesn't feel that way. White rice, unlike brown, has the advantage of longevity. When kept cool and dry, it can last 20 to 30 years. That's not a typo. Decades, which means what you buy now can be part of your plan well into the future. And with rice and lentils, you've got complete protein. You've got comfort. You've got a full stomach and a quiet mind. If you're still watching this, that says something. It means you're thinking ahead. You're not here for panic or doomsday drama. You're here for peace, for readiness, for the quiet satisfaction of knowing that if things get hard, you'll be okay. Maybe not comfortable, maybe not easy, but okay. And sometimes that's all we can ask for. If you have someone in your life, a neighbor, a sibling, a grown child, who hasn't thought about this yet, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video. These aren't secrets. They're just truths we've forgotten to pass on. And the more we help each other remember, the better off we all become. We'll continue next with something that requires no cooking at all, something that can be eaten cold, straight from a can, even when the lights are out and the stove won't turn on. There's something unsettling about silence after a storm, when the lights are out, when the fridge hum disappears, when the usual flick of the stove knob yields nothing but a cold click. That's when it sinks in. Not just that the power's gone, but that everything tied to it is suddenly unreachable. Cooking, boiling, heating, even something as simple as warming up a bowl of soup feels impossible. And that's why the next food on this quiet preparedness journey matters so deeply. Canned proteins. They're not glamorous. They don't make headlines. But they're there for you when the stove isn't, when the microwave won't buzz, when the power is out and your nerves are fraying and you need something that just opens, feeds, and comforts. Tuna, salmon, chicken, sardines, even the humble can of ham. All of these little tins hold more than meat. They hold time. They hold calories. They hold nutrients that your body will quietly beg for in times of stress. Protein isn't just for building muscle. It's for maintaining your immune system. It's for keeping your energy up when sleep is short and worry is long. And in a crisis, it's one of the hardest things to find in a ready-to-eat form. That's what makes canned proteins so powerful. Now imagine this. A cold evening after a storm. The wind has calmed, but the power hasn't come back. You reach for a can of salmon, already cooked, safe to eat straight from the tin. You add it to a bit of rice you cooked earlier. Maybe you still have a few slices of bread, or a cracker, or just a spoon. That meal, humble as it may be, becomes your lifeline. It's not about luxury, it's about nourishment. It's about knowing you're still in control of one small thing. The beauty of canned proteins is in their simplicity. They stack neatly on a shelf. They don't need refrigeration. They come in portions that can be used quickly, with little waste. And their shelf life? 2 to 5 years, sometimes even longer if stored well. I've known people who've used canned tuna a year past the printed date, carefully checked the can, saw no dents, no rust, no bulge, and it tasted just fine. That's not a recommendation. It's just a reflection of real-life resilience, of what people learn when they prepare. But like everything, these cans don't last forever. That's where rotation comes in. Use the older ones. Replace them with fresh. Make canned protein a part of your everyday meals so it doesn't just gather dust. A quick tuna sandwich. A bit of canned chicken stirred into soup. These aren't just survival meals. They're practice. They're reminders that preparation doesn't mean waiting. It means living wisely now. And there's more to these little cans than meets the eye. Sardines and mackerel, for instance, don't just bring protein, they bring omega-3s, the good fats your heart and brain quietly rely on. In a stressful season, those nutrients make a difference. They help regulate mood, protect against inflammation, and support overall health in ways we often take for granted. Here's something else many people forget. When you're eating mostly dry goods, beans, rice, pasta, your body craves moisture. The oils and liquids inside canned fish or meat can bring much-needed texture and richness to otherwise plain meals. It's not just about nutrition anymore. It's about morale. And that's not a small thing. In hardship, small comforts feel like luxuries. A familiar taste, a soft texture, a moment of satisfaction when everything else feels hard. If you're still here with me, still listening, then I imagine you're someone who understands this. Someone who knows the value of preparing in quiet ways, without fanfare, without fear. You're not stockpiling because you expect the worst. You're preparing because you hope for the best but live in the real world. And in that real world, it doesn't take much. A long outage, a delay in shipments, a sudden shortage at your local store, for everyday foods to become unavailable. And for those who didn't prepare, that's when panic sets in. For those who did, that's when calm steps forward. If you have someone in your life who relies on regular meals, maybe an older neighbor, someone on medication, or a friend who lives alone, think about how a few extra cans could mean everything in an emergency. Preparation isn't just about us. It's about who we're able to help when the moment comes. And when your pantry holds more than you need, you become a source of calm, not chaos. So next time you're at the store, don't just pass by the canned aisle. Take a second look. Pick up a few tins. Think of them as a quiet investment, not in fear, but in peace. And in the next part of our journey, we'll talk about a group of foods that many overlook until it's gone, and yet it touches nearly every daily habit. Coffee, breakfast, baking, calcium. For many, this next group is the missing link between comfort and crisis. There's a quiet comfort in routine, the clink of a spoon against a mug of coffee, the splash of milk in your morning tea, the creamy texture that finishes a bowl of oats just right. These aren't grand luxuries, but they are anchors, little rituals that help us feel like ourselves, even when the world outside feels unfamiliar. And that's why the next category of food isn't just practical, it's personal. Dairy, especially shelf-stable dairy and its alternatives, might not seem essential at first glance. After all, it's not a calorie powerhouse like rice or protein packed like beans. But talk to anyone who's lived through an extended blackout, a storm, or an emergency, and you'll hear it again and again. What they missed most was the little things. The splash of cream in coffee, the spoon of yogurt, the cheese on toast, the things that bring normalcy when everything else is far from normal. In a full-blown crisis, fresh milk disappears first. No power means no refrigeration. No delivery means no restock. And within hours, days at most, what was once abundant becomes impossible to find. That's when people reach for the next best thing, and often realize too late they didn't prepare for it. But you still can. Powdered milk is where most start. Non-fat versions last longer, sometimes 5 to 10 years if kept cool and sealed. Whole milk powder has more richness, but also more fat, and that means a shorter shelf life. Still, if you use it regularly and rotate your supply, it becomes a reliable source of calcium, vitamin D, and that essential splash of comfort in your morning cup. There's a reason it's been used in emergencies for generations. It just works. Then there are the shelf-stable alternatives. Tetra Pak cartons of almond, oat, or soy milk. They might not last years, but they last months. And in the right moment, that's enough. You open the carton, pour what you need, and for a brief second, life feels normal again. Your cereal, your coffee, your evening tea. These are more than meals, they're markers of safety. And for those who think ahead, there's even more. Freeze-dried cheese, dehydrated cheese powders. Not fancy, not perfect, but functional. A spoonful added to pasta, a sprinkle over rice, a bit of richness when everything else feels bland. These foods won't replace the real thing, but they'll remind you of it. And sometimes that's just as powerful. What many forget is how quickly nutritional gaps can form when the diet becomes restricted. Calcium, vitamin D, even just the satisfaction that comes from fat and creaminess. These things matter, not just to the body, but to the mind. In times of stress, malnutrition isn't always about starvation. It's about a quiet, creeping deficiency that drains energy, mood, even willpower. And dairy, whether in its traditional form or as a substitute, helps fill that gap. Now, if you've made it this far, you probably understand by now that food storage isn't about hoarding. It's about honoring the parts of daily life that keep us grounded. It's not about fear, it's about memory. About holding on to the pieces of life that remind us who we are. If you're still watching, still nodding along, still thinking about your own pantry and the spaces in it, then let me ask, when was the last time you checked your dairy alternatives? Do you have something shelf-stable for your morning routine? Something that could stand in if the fridge failed, even just for a few days? Because these aren't just emergency supplies. They're comfort in a carton, stability in powder. A quiet promise that you'll still get to start your day the way you've always liked. no matter what's going on outside. And if you know someone who clings to their morning coffee like it's a lifeline, or someone whose bones are feeling a little more fragile with age, share this part with them. Let them know it's okay to care about the small comforts. That preparing for hard times doesn't mean letting go of joy. In fact, it means protecting it. In the next part, we'll explore a food group that's often overlooked, yet carries some of the longest shelf life and the brightest promise. It brings color to your meals, vitamins to your body, and comfort to your spirit, especially when the fresh stuff is long gone and the store shelves are bare. There's something about color that uplifts the spirit. A bowl of bright strawberries, the green of fresh peas, the soft gold of banana slices, or the deep purple of blueberries. In uncertain times, it's not just nutrients we miss when produce disappears. It's the life those colors bring, the hope they quietly carry. When your table starts to look beige, rice, beans, bread, canned meat, it's not just the palate that dulls. It's the mood, the appetite, the sense of joy around eating. And that's where freeze-dried fruits and vegetables become more than just food. They become preservation, not just of nutrition, but of normalcy. You might not think of strawberries as essential during a crisis, but imagine a week or a month without a single fresh thing on your plate. No greens, no berries, no crunch. Just soft, bland, reliable staples. And while those foods fill the stomach, they slowly wear on the soul. That's when a handful of freeze-dried apples feels like gold. A few rehydrated carrots in a stew makes dinner feel like home again. That little bit of texture, that color, that sweetness, it changes everything. Freeze-dried produce is different from dehydrated food. It's lighter, crisper, often better in flavor, and most importantly, it retains far more of the original nutritional value. The freeze-drying process is gentler, preserving vitamins and minerals that otherwise vanish in the heat of dehydration. It also gives these foods an astounding shelf life. Properly stored, many freeze-dried fruits and vegetables can last over 20 years. Yes, 2 decades. That means the strawberries you store today might still be there, intact, ready, and nourishing in 2045. But even if you never store for that long, even if you just want to prepare for a few weeks or months of instability, this food group becomes a quiet hero. Lightweight, easy to store, easy to carry if you ever need to evacuate. It doesn't require cooking, just a bit of water, or even none at all. Many people eat freeze-dried fruit straight out of the bag. Crunchy, sweet, familiar. And when the power's out, when the fridge is warm and the produce drawer is empty, those little bags of freeze-dried blueberries or corn or pineapple take on a whole new meaning. They're not just snacks. They're brightness in the dark. They're vitamins when you need them most. They're immune support when fresh oranges are nowhere to be found. In those moments, you don't think about the price you paid. You think about the foresight you had. If you're someone who's always loved fresh produce, this might be the hardest part of emergency preparedness. The idea of going days or longer without greens, without fruit, without something alive on your plate. But it doesn't have to be all or nothing. You can build a small collection, a few cans of freeze-dried spinach, a bag of strawberries, some crunchy peas or sweet potatoes. Not everything, just enough to bring color back when you need it most. If you're still watching, still thinking through your own pantry, I want you to pause and ask, what would I miss most if I couldn't get fresh fruits or vegetables for a month? Would it be the morning banana, the tomato in a sandwich, the handful of berries with yogurt? Whatever it is, chances are there's a freeze-dried version that gets close enough. Not perfect, but familiar. And in a crisis, familiar is everything. And if you're someone who lives alone, who doesn't always finish fresh produce before it spoils, this might actually be the better solution even outside of emergencies. No waste, no rush, no spoilage, just food that waits patiently until you need it. And when you do, it's there. These foods aren't just smart, they're soothing. In a world that changes too quickly, they offer something rare, stillness, the ability to preserve a moment of summer, a taste of sunshine, a memory of better days. You open the pouch, pour it out, and there it is. The color, the scent, the sweetness, still intact, still real. If you know someone who struggles to eat well during stressful times, share this part with them. This isn't just about vitamins, it's about emotional health, about not giving up on beauty just because the world gets dark, about choosing to bring color with you wherever you go. In the next part, we'll circle back to where most pantries begin: the overlooked, the ordinary, and the deeply foundational. Foods like salt, oil, and the quiet ingredients that tie everything else together. Because when you think you've got enough, these are the ones that quietly make or break the meals you'll rely on most. It's easy to focus on the big things: the heavy bags of rice, the cans stacked high, the buckets of beans that make you feel secure just by looking at them. But sometimes the most important parts of a pantry aren't the ones that fill the most space. They're the ones that quietly bring everything else to life: salt, sugar, cooking oil, honey, spices. These are the quiet workers, the invisible heroes of every meal. You don't notice them when they're there, but you feel their absence immediately when they're not. A spoonful of oil to start the pan, a pinch of salt to make the beans sing, a dash of garlic powder that turns a bland soup into something familiar. In moments of stress, those little flavors mean more than you might imagine. Think about it. You've prepared rice, beans, maybe some canned tuna. You sit down to eat, but there's no seasoning, no fat to carry the flavor, no sweet finish to the end of the meal. What began as food for comfort suddenly feels flat, bare. Survival, yes, but barely. That's why these bonus staples matter. Not because they keep you alive, but because they keep you human. Salt, for instance, isn't just for flavor. It's essential for preserving food, for supporting hydration, and for making otherwise dull ingredients taste whole again. It never goes bad. Stored well, it lasts forever. And it takes up almost no space for the value it provides. Honey, too, is nature's miracle. It doesn't spoil, it soothes, it sweetens, it heals. In a world of uncertainty, it becomes a symbol of gentleness. A teaspoon stirred into tea when your nerves are frayed. A little drizzle on oatmeal when morale is low. And beyond its sweetness, it becomes a tool for bartering, for baking, even for basic wound care if needed. And then there's oil, often forgotten until it's too late. A small bottle of coconut or olive oil not only makes cooking possible, it brings richness to your meals. It helps absorb nutrients, keeps energy up, and turns dry foods into satisfying dishes. But oils don't last forever. They can go rancid. That's why choosing stable oils, storing them cool and dark, and rotating regularly makes all the difference. And when the world outside feels hard and cold, warm food cooked in oil becomes more than a meal. It becomes a reminder that you are cared for. And finally, the spices, the ones tucked in the back of your cupboard, the ones that carry memory: cumin, garlic, oregano, cinnamon. These are what turn ingredients into meals. What make a spoonful of lentils taste like comfort? What bring culture, heritage, and love into the room, even when things feel broken outside of it? If you've come with me through this entire journey, through the beans, the rice, the cans, the cartons, the freeze-dried bags, then I want you to hear this clearly. What you are building is not just a pantry, it's a refuge, a place where food is more than fuel. It's protection, it's comfort, it's love. And if you're still here, still listening, still imagining your shelves and the space behind your couch, and that empty corner of the closet that could hold a box or two, you already know this isn't about fear. It's about peace. Quiet, steady peace that comes from knowing that when the lights go out, or the prices climb, or the trucks don't show up, you'll be okay, and maybe more than okay. Maybe you'll be the one your neighbor comes to, not because you stockpiled more than them, but because you thought ahead, because you remembered, because you cared enough to prepare, not just for yourself, but for the ones around you. Maybe you'll be the reason someone else feels safe. So if this video has helped you, if even one idea sparks something inside, please share it, not for likes or numbers, but because someone out there, maybe someone you love, is still unprepared, still hoping things stay normal, still assuming the shelves will always be full. But as we've seen, things change. And when they do, it's the quiet preparations, made without fear or fuss, that carry us through. You don't have to do it all at once. You don't have to build a mountain. Just start small. 1 bag of beans, 1 box of rice, a couple of cans, a bottle of oil, a jar of honey. Because one day when you sit down to a warm meal that you quietly prepared for months before, you'll understand this isn't just about food, it's about freedom. It's about not waiting for permission to take care of yourself. It's about choosing calm over chaos. And it starts right now.